Even in the far reaches of the universe, there are opponents willing to fight Boyfriend. If you like space, EDM, fast charts, or all of the above, Versus Void might be the mod for you. Versus Void follows the story of AC Void, who in the game note is described as a cosmic pop star with an ego as massive as a black hole. AC Void with his massive ego naturally despises any competition, so when he hears there's a new hottest rapper on the block, or the universe, he seeks out Boyfriend for a rap battle to prove he is the greatest in all of space. Throughout the 2 weeks, we see AC Void slowly get his ego destroyed by the One Punch Man of the rap scene to the point where he becomes an all-consuming void. Wait, is that what the AC stands for? Before we move on to the review, I'd like to briefly explain my absence. I spent nearly 2 weeks editing for a Friday Night Funkin' Iceberg video, and then I lost access to my editing software. This is because my Adobe apps are given to me by my college, and sometime in August there's a period where they remove it, and once it's confirmed you're returning, your Adobe privileges also return. So yeah, after a little bit of burnout and no editing software, the vids are back. I'm Hegemony, and let's talk about Versus Void. The first thing that came to my mind when observing the art was the color palette. Naturally, as a mod centered around a living void and space itself, the color palette consists of mostly deep purples, lighter blues, and hints of pinks and whites. I must say, the color choices in this mod are quite simple and effective, although some more experimentation in the second week would have been better. I look at other space objects like nebulas. There you can see reds, oranges, greens, browns, you get the picture. There may be an issue with involving too many colors, but limiting more colors to just a background or certain foreground elements could work. Boyfriend and girlfriend stay in their standard outfits for this mod, which does make them stick out more amongst the space palette. Whether you think that's good or bad, I'll leave up to you, but me personally, I love when mods make new outfits for boyfriend and girlfriend, and I certainly think giving the two a more cosmic makeover would greatly improve the look of everything. Perhaps they could take inspiration from various Starcatcher sprites. Moving away from the color palette, let's focus on the art. The art style is quite simplistic, there's minimal shading, and it's evident that the characters in the mod are made up of more easy to draw shapes. You could argue this is just the style, but it would certainly be nicer to feature more complexity within the style. Week 2 certainly shows off more, especially in Singularity, where we have quite a few alt animations of Void here. The shading is nothing too major, but it adds an extra bit of change to indicate Void's fragile ego being shattered. We also have Void, except the lights are turned off edition, but who gives a damn. Void has very snappy and quick animations, which certainly makes sense due to his lightspeed songs, but for the purpose of slower paced songs, a few extra frames of animation to make smoother movements wouldn't hurt. Although Starbreak did not play around when it comes to the alt animations. Gravity has like 4 different alt animations. Void's alt animations use much more dynamic poses, and it's a good indicator in songs to really show he's getting in the zone. He also has a flashlight built into his body. Singularity is where he gets a bit mental, however. Immediately we see Void take on a different stature, and in each of his animations there are particles swelling around him. This is further perpetuated when Void enters his alt animations and we see energy particles glitching, his face becomes a black hole, and then eventually he uses his ultimate all-consuming Void, which is actually quite underwhelming. Yeah, this transformation could do with a little more intensity. I mean, come on, he is a fucking black hole. Do something with the background, do something with boyfriend and girlfriend, just something, please. I'll talk more about it in the world and concepts section, but for now, let's move on. Void has 3 cutscene animations, which are all pretty short. The first is a menacing introduction to Void, which is actually voice acted. Check this out.
Oh well, look at the scientists show up.
The second is just 2 scenes. Void stands there with his cape blowing in the wind like Batman, and then... And the third and final is Void slowly losing his temper, which features a really cool skeleton sprite where we see Void's galactic bones and black hole heart. Imagine dying, what a noob. Oh my god, what is that? These cutscenes definitely do their jobs, however they are very short, so extending them would make their existence more meaningful. I'm also going to quickly mention Void's mid-song animations. There are quite a few of these, and they are nothing too special, but they certainly indicate that extra bit of care that Starbreak put in. Notable ones are winking, flinching, finger snap, and his defeat animation. Oh, and this has absolutely nothing to do with the art, but there is no way that hand position is comfortable. The last of my thoughts on the art of this mod are towards the various backgrounds featured throughout the mod. Week 1's background is unchanging, it's simply a space arena. The most obvious factor being the cameos in the audience, because what mod doesn't include cameos in the audience? Aside from that, we have some advertisements for Hex Labs, Void himself, KOU, and Starbreak. I think Void should start an air conditioning brand. Get it? AC Void.
Oh, brother!
There's some flashing lights for all your epilepsy needs, 2 security accretions who don't get paid, and some rocks, which also create a bit of a foreground. I can't say I have any complaints. The space is filled up quite effectively and it doesn't feel too cluttered nor underdone. Week 2's background is the same space arena, except this time it's more dark as it's after the show has ended. There's nothing really noteworthy until the second song, Gravity, where the background gets slightly darker, and we also get this pretty awesome mid-song event where the background shatters and a slightly darker and eviler void emerges. There's also this black mist that's featured throughout. Not sure what that's about, but who cares when the next song is Singularity. The background becomes nothing but cosmic energy and space speakers or something. There are also shattered pieces of the arena flying around in the back. Overall, I feel as if these were executed well and Week 2's backgrounds are pretty good as is. Before I give a score to art and animation, this paragraph will briefly cover the 2 secret songs, Security and Stardust. Most of what I said about Void and his art can be applied here. The accretions are not too far off Void himself in terms of looks, they are just much bulkier to look like Roblox characters, I mean security guards. I do like how they have quite stiff animations, it suits the whole big guy look. Also, is that Void in the background with a cat? Next is Stardust, the song in which you fight Starbreak himself. This song takes place on a rooftop with a beautiful night sky and silhouette buildings, and what appears to be Starbreak's setup. Is this guy homeless? Why does he have his setup on a roof? Anyway, Starbreak has a nice design, similar circle head and headphones like Void, some nice Yeezy Ultra Boost 350s and stuff. His animation is similar in jumpiness to every character in this mod, and it's really cool how he has little alt animations for the little key sounds in the song. So all things considered, I think a strong 4.2 out of 5 will do. It is a very visually appealing mod with lots of thought put into it. There's just a few factors that take down the score a bit for me. If I could ask for one thing and one thing only, it would be to do something with voice transformation and Singularity. All he does is stand there and nothing much changes in the background or the scenery or anything. Fix that and perhaps the score would go up by a few decimal points. I'm gonna say this right here, right now. The songs in this mod are bangers. When I first heard the songs in this mod way before the release of the 2.0 update, I was surprised at how great they sounded, and 2.0 certainly did not disappoint by delivering even more bangers. I love how every song in this mod sounds, but allow me to take a more in-depth look into them. Let's start with the vocals. So, set the scene a little bit. You sit down, open up Versus Void, tweak your settings maybe, watch the opening cutscene, and Asteroids begins to play. You hear Void and are not surprised, then you hear Boyfriend and wonder why he sounds so electric. That's really the only way I can describe it, to be honest. EDM, EDM, EDM. These songs sound like electro songs or something, and to accommodate for that, Boyfriend's vocals are changed to match this better. Void himself has a very flexible voice that sounds like a dubstep sound. This allows him to sound very at home on a high action fast song like Event Horizon or Singularity, and to make Boyfriend fit in more with the songs, he has a new voice, of which is very nice to listen to. Every song in this mod is very upbeat, but for more melancholic moments, there's a bit of reverb added onto the vocals and it makes the songs just that little bit more heavenly. Starting at week 1, Asteroids is an alright song to introduce us into what to expect. However, when I listen to the opening of the song and the opening of Weightless, it makes me wonder why Weightless isn't the first song. Regardless, we get a simple back and forth between Void and Boyfriend until an unknown presence says and the song booms from here. The main melody in this song is very memorable, and the way it progresses with extra vocals each time is awesome. All of this is layered on top of an upbeat instrumental that on occasion adds in some lyrics and mysterious sounds. I have no complaints. Weightless, the song which should have been the first song, is slightly more relaxed but still has Void's signature upbeat style. It starts nicely with a melodic build up in the instrumental, and from here both the vocals and the instrumental pick up. Similar to Asteroids, we have some lyrics in the instrumental, those being: the song is ever progressing and continues to include more vocals each time turns past. This prevents the song from feeling too samey, and it sets up some nice duets. My only criticism is, the sounds used for the melodic build-up at the start of the instrumental are never used again, and I think it would really add something if used in the right way. And now we head into the best song in this mod, Event Horizon. This has to be one of the catchiest songs I've heard in Friday Night Funkin', full stop. This song wastes little time by introducing a falling clap sound in the instrumental, and the second Void grimaces, the song begins. The song sort of has two main melodies, but the one that's most impactful cools off the high energy of the instrumental to introduce itself, and as it plays it continues to build up and serves as a great setup into whatever follows. It's hard not to fall in love with this melody. rest of the song provides constant fast-paced action riddled with good sound patterns and duets, and the ending to the song being as explosive as it is makes listening to the entire song feel worth it. I could go on for ages, but I'm going to leave it here. Event Horizon is a song I strongly recommend people listen to. Moving on, this is where the mod gets a bit emo. Void is going through a dark depression, but he accepts Boyfriend's rematch and we enter Ultraviolet, a song with a really enchanting opening and those reverb vocals I was talking about. As per usual, the song picks up quite fast, and this is about as average as a Void song gets, which isn't bad, but honestly, this song isn't that memorable for me. It has some nice duets, but nothing I can really pick out and say, hey, this shines above the rest. Take a listen. Gravity is where things get a bit more interesting. Void is literally giving Boyfriend the death stare. This song features yet another enchanting intro, except this time it's much more mysterious. Our main melody here is relatively memorable, but what's more enjoyable about this song is its duets. There are tons of duets in the song, and they all sound beautiful. At times the song can feel weirdly tame, and the tonal shift when Void cracks... what exactly is he cracking? Space itself? Whatever, it's a good minor switch up to the usual AC Void flow, aside from the instrumental, which is the box standard Void. The song is awesome and all, but it's way too long. It's the longest song in the mod and it doesn't really need to be. Singularity deserves it way more. Anyway, follow me into this black hole, let's talk about Singularity. As to not spend 10 light years on this song, wait, that's a unit of distance, not time. As to not spend 10 solar years on this song, I will attempt to condense my thoughts into only a few sentences. Singularity certainly does its job as a final song. It's very climactic and builds tension through its very fast-paced style of song that continues to build up throughout. The techno instrumental contributes a great deal to the intensity of the song and at some point sounds like an F777 song. There is barely a moment of rest in this song, and whenever it does cool off, it gets back on track very fast. The final stretches of the song really feel like a trial, and that's how it should be. My one and only criticism of this song is, there should have been a more established main melody. There is one that is used in the earlier stages of the song, but it never gets used again after a certain point, and this song could certainly benefit from a hook of sorts. Security and Stardust, let's talk. Security blue balls us a little bit by purposefully making Boyfriend go for a few turns before the accretion, and the accretion's voices are nothing crazy, they're just a deeper sounding Void. I must say, the MVP of the song is the instrumental. It samples the classic "Go Man Go," but my favourite part about it is the parts with vocal samples, as it adds so much to the song of which is pretty banging. The accretion has some cool wobbly vocals, and overall it's just a solid song. Stardust is quite nice on the ears. It partially feels like it's from another video game, and that adds so much to the enjoyability, I suppose. Starbreak himself has a very wonderful voice, and the chimes that he plays throughout the songs are... I'm running out of vocabulary. Exceptional. Very catchy. Music will get blasted into the heliosphere with a 4.8 out of 5 on its back. I had a hard time trying to criticize the songs in this mod, as they are all right up my alley. EDM, techno, and electro and all that jazz are some of my favourite genres of music, and AC Void certainly put on a show for me. Whether you disagree with me or not, there's no doubt that Starbreak himself is extremely talented and deserves all the appreciation for his work. Just writing the script, I've been listening to Void songs in the background, they're just, okay, I'm saying it, phantasmagorical. Cue the next section, rude boy. Welcome to the world and concepts section, where I tell you if the world and concepts are good or if they are bad. Now just for this video, I think I should really rename this to universe and concepts since we're in space. I'm really not funny. Let's begin by covering the story and dialogue. So Void has heard about Boyfriend's recent victories, namely against ex-Rockstar Daddy Dearest, and as I said in the intro, his precious ego will not allow any competition and it starts kicking off. Within the first few lines of dialogue and the voice in the cutscene, Void is already insulting Boyfriend and making himself seem more important, which is certainly fitting for his character. I know people will probably get mad at the stereotypical egotistical, lyrical, miracle, spiritual individual character who transforms when they get too angry, but as the fourth wall breaking dialogue states, hey, this mob was in the works for a long time, it wasn't that played out a year ago. Is this a valid excuse? Kinda, but I like Void's egotistical nature, so it gets a pass from me. Void doesn't feel like the most basic F&F egomaniac, he's got the dialogue and transformation, but what really gives an impact to me is the small animations of him during the songs. Subtle things like him straightening his tie and winking certainly shows his nature through other ways. Within the dialogue though, we find out some more information about how Void is, such as how he doesn't even pay his security, that's rough. In week 2, when Boyfriend returns for a rematch, to make himself feel better, he assumes Boyfriend came back for an autograph and calls him a fan, but then admits to spending multiple spa days trying to get Boyfriend off his mind. I don't know, Void, you sound like a pretty big fan yourself. I do like how Void tries to calm down a little bit, somewhat aware of the consequences, but in the end we all know what happens. This transformation not exactly being Void himself, but somewhat of a separate entity who puts on the character of Void is pretty neat, but it's not the first time I've seen something similar. I'm not going to continue with the dialogue, if you want to see more, go download the mod. I'm going to move on to the general world and progression. Using cameos is kind of a cheap move for world building, but it does the job. We do have the advertisements, which imply more happens outside of Void's arena, even though he thinks the whole universe centers around him. I do like how the crowd is virtually broadcasted through some kind of space technology, as well as how Void is battling Boyfriend on some kind of random floating platform. Progression isn't very major in week 1, but in week 2 we get changes in every song. Ultraviolet is just the standard arena after hours, and upon entering Gravity, it's apparent that everything is darkened, the mysterious mist also being a nod to that. Next we have the space-time continuum being split open and this darker void emerging before the final song Singularity, where the whole arena is destroyed to give us a small hint at the fraction of the power of AC. The most disappointing part, as said earlier, is the black hole move, which is very underwhelming. The move kills all movement from AC Void's side, and I wouldn't be too bothered by this if there was just something more interesting happening. New background, new animations for Boyfriend and Girlfriend, maybe some sort of mechanic, anything would have been better than this. If you made objects orbit around in the background, I'm sure you could make some sort of effect where they get sucked into Void's move. He has the power to rip a galaxy in half, for fuck's sake. Let me relax for a second. Music-wise, everything makes sense. Of course, Singularity is the big boy intense final song. I do like how Void claims to do a nice slow song before Gravity, but Gravity ends up being quite a fast-paced song near the end because obviously he can't resist. And yeah, about the bonus content, there's nothing much to say. Void has a cat, that's extremely important. I do like how when Boyfriend fights the Accretions, the screen shakes to emphasize how tough as nails these lads are. And in Starbreak's song, there's a cheeky Niku poster on the floor that I only noticed when writing this paragraph. After everything's said, Sir AC Void can take a 4 out of 5 on the world and concepts. I certainly believe that Void's character is done well, and there is an attempt at creating a world through some verbal and non-verbal methods. Of course I have my qualms with the few aspects like week 1 not being as exciting as week 2 and the letdown that is Void's ultimate, but I can certainly give the mod a decent score for what it attempts and pulls off. I had nowhere to fit this in the other paragraphs, but the way Void shifts around in his animations here is such a cool detail. Next section. For the most part, the charting in this mod is safe charted, it doesn't really experiment too much. Every song in Void's 2 weeks except Event Horizon uses at least one double note at some point. Sure, I respect the attempt at using them, and they certainly feel justified, they are just never used in a dynamic way to create difficulty. All of the fast-paced streams in these songs are composed of a normal flow of notes, sometimes accompanied by the odd trills of mini jacks, and I have no problem with this. I think the songs are very fun as is, but to make them more of a challenge and more fun in general, more experimentation would definitely help. I'm going to focus particularly on Event Horizon and Singularity, as they are the harder songs in the mod. The easier songs in this mod are relatively standard and about what you would expect from a good friend at Funkin' chart. You shouldn't find yourself tripping up too much on the patterns unless you're a lower skilled player, in which case some may end up giving you a few misses. Event Horizon certainly experiments a bit more than other songs. This song tries its hand at mini jacks and the trolls are quite bountiful. I can't really say any part of the song was awkward to play, but I imagine this section of the chart may be a bit troublesome for some people. I personally have my own issues with landing trolls, but I hit this perfectly fine, so I don't know. The ending of this song is very satisfying to land with these easy to follow repeating pans that lead into one another well, and even if you're someone who can't read charts well, the muscles may end up doing the job for you anyway. Event Horizon gets a thumbs up from me. Singularity is a bit more tough, however this may just be due to the fast-paced speed of the song. I found myself slipping up on certain pans that had a little bit of a janky input, or the pattern in question made my fingers get used to a certain input, then threw a curveball at me. This is simply fixed by moving around certain notes. The one part of the song that has double notes also tripped me up just a little bit, and this is fixed again by moving the positions of the notes a bit. Similar to Event Horizon, the ending of this song throws some easy to follow repeating pans that should be fun to breeze through. I'm gonna give charting a 4.2. Certainly excellent charting, but could do with more dynamic gameplay. Overall, Versus Void is an excellent mod that brings a lovely space world together with stellar music and fun charts. It's evident that Starbreak wanted to show off his talent with the 2.0 update, and if 1.0 didn't prove it enough, 2.0 certainly should. This mod is almost a one-man team, with additional people coming on to help with the code, dialogue, sound, you get the picture. But for the most part, all of the art, music and programming is done by Starbreak himself, and he deserves an applause. With everything I spoke about today, I think it's reasonable for Versus Void to take off into the outer reaches of space with an overall score of 4.4 out of 5. I certainly would recommend this mod. It's very fun and has a banging soundtrack. Maybe you don't like how much of an egotistical prick Void is, but who cares, skip the dialogue or something. Ladies, gentlemen, non-binaries, aliens, kitchen sinks, wrenches, or whomever might be watching, I'm back. I think. I would like to upload more frequently, but I'm back in college now and I might end up working a job too, so my time is seriously going to be limited. Right now I'm going to try get a minimum of one upload out a month, but who knows, maybe I'll do blind reaction to new mods as filler content between, or demo mod reviews, I don't know, only time will tell. If you're wondering about my summer, it was quite fun, I enjoyed my time off. My highlight was certainly going to the O2 Arena for KSI vs Swarms and Lewis Pineda, good times. I hope all of you survive school, and yeah, peace out.